So we're going to join in Trevor and Ashley from CASA. Hey guys, really excited to see you. Excited to see
Hey,
you. How you doing?
great to see you both.
Good, good.
Well, how
Good.
are you?
You guys are actually at a conference right now at State College, kind of meeting with the whole state of Pennsylvania and leaders, and that's really exciting. How's that been going?
It's been going well. We have 22 programs in the state of Pennsylvania, so it was nice to have the majority of our directors present to be able to network with them, discuss larger issues, discuss what we want to work together for this year. So it was great. It's nice to not have to be in front of a Zoom
Yeah,
camera
yeah, that's
and be able to
awesome.
connect more face.
No, that's awesome. Can you just give me a brief overview? We're going to dive in a little bit more about CASA, who you are, and what you do. I know you're in the state of Pennsylvania, but CASA's all over the country. So give me a brief overview if I've never heard of you before.
Yeah. So Um, CASA is part of a national organization. And the whole idea behind court appointed special advocates is it started in Seattle, Washington. And Judge Sukop years ago was just like, I want more information about these children that I'm seeing who are involved in the child welfare system to make more informed decisions. And so this model started from looking at investing in the community, having those members trained, having them appointed to a child. And so each child had an advocate, someone that was there without an agenda and was really there to understand the child's needs and bring their voice and their perspective the to the court. And so to have their voice heard or to encourage them to have to share what they wanted to in the courtroom. And so the model was really successful. The judge was able to have more information present,
Wow.
was able to feel more confident in the decision makings. And so now nationally, there's over 1,000 member programs across the
Wow.
country, over 98,000 CASA advocates across the country. And so
Wow.
we're excited. In Pennsylvania, we have approximately 1,000 advocates serving over 2,000 children. So there's still work to be done. But we're really grateful for the advocates that we have and their time and commitment.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so then, we talk about Brave the Dark and how we reached out to you guys, started talking about CASA and about Brave the Dark. It makes a lot of sense for us to work together because of what Mr. Deen, did. Basically, was a CASA, volunteer without even knowing he was at that time, helping Nate navigate. So we're excited to dive in a little bit more about CASA and about how people can learn more about what you are doing, support it, the mission of the film, and all those things. And so then, Nate, I think a couple of people know who you are, but give me a little intro who you are and a little intro for the Stan Deen Foundation as well.
Yeah, so I'm Nate Deen, and I'm the guy that the movie's about. So what Brave the Dark is about, and so it's a bit surreal going through this experience. But I had an important story that I wanted to share. Stan was an advocate for me. He helped me get through a very hard and dark time, even through the court system. And so now that I'm on the other side, I'm within the light. I am now wanting to pass on what he did for me and help others, just the way CASA does. I started the Stan Deen Foundation. And I'm excited to kind of just take it to the next level with this movie. And really what we're going to do is we're going to help those underserved kids, the youth in our state, our country, who are just behind the eight ball and who are, just have been dealt a bad hand. And so we want to help them, and we're going to do it through education and the arts, which is what Stan did for me. Got me involved, made sure that I got to college, made sure that I got involved in the arts. And so we want to do that. And we're going to do that through mentorships. We're going to get kids, on film sets if we can. We're going to get kids on in art classes and learning music and really building a community around these kids, and especially those that age out too of the system.
Yeah.
You know, they need a community around them when they leave the system. They're kind of on their own sometimes, and so we want to partner with everyone that we can to help kids, you know, to have a much brighter future.
Yeah, and that's amazing. I think the Stan Deen Foundation, and then of course CASA's so established and all over the country, but there's so many ways to get involved together and make a difference in kids' lives. So before we get a little bit further in with CASA and Stan Deen Foundation, I'm going to ask a few questions to the audience to see if everybody knows and understands like how many kids we're talking about around the country and who are in foster care and what we're kind of dealing with some of the challenges. So a couple of these questions, and then feel free to comment and see if you guys know them. We'll of course reveal the answers. But how many children are in foster care in the United States? So that's a question a lot of people don't understand exactly how many kids. We'll give it a second for people to join in and answer. But yeah, and then you guys probably know some of the stats in Pennsylvania too, but we're talking as a whole in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah, there's probably more than what we imagine, I would guess.
Yeah, I can't imagine what the number is, and sadly, I think it's way too high.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
these kids are, you know, I just remember being in the foster care system and not feeling loved and not feeling that I was a part of a family. I know that there are amazing foster parents out there, and thank you for that.
Yeah, we need
but
them.
not every child has that opportunity, and so we wanna try to cut those numbers, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So see how many foster children are there in the United States? Let's reveal. Okay, so we have some guesses out there. 1 million, 2.5. There's a couple of guesses all over. Let's see. Answer is 437,000 kids. Wow, 500,000 kids.
500,000 kids.
437,000 kids.
Wow.
Wow, it's a big number.
Yeah.
And then the next question would be, what is the average length a child spends in foster care before they're adopted? So I'm sure that you know, something that Nate, that you talk about a lot is when the kids start to get older,
Yeah.
and they can age out, or they go through challenges, some of the things that you went through. That's a challenging time for kids, and that's probably where CASA comes in too, into the older kids, maybe more or less. Is that where you guys come in?
Yeah, I mean, CASAs can be appointed to children at birth through, at least in Pennsylvania, through the age of 21. Nationally, I know through age of 18, depending on different laws. But
Yeah.
especially, Nate, you talked about, sometimes there's not a permanent option for youth exiting foster care. Sometimes they transition out of care. And so having that support network, having them involved in activities and other supportive adults to really build that resilience is what will make them successful in the future. And so CASA volunteers can also help be a part of doing that and getting them connected.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, so what is the average length a child spends?
Were there any guesses?
Do we have any
from
guesses
anyone?
so far? Let's see, what do we got? 4.5 years, 10 years, or a couple of 12 years. Those are some of the guesses. Okay. 20 months. Okay. Wow, that's actually a good number. That's good.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's the average length in the country, United States.
Right.
And
But that's almost 2 years in
That's-
2 years in a kid's life.
that's a long time.
And those 2
right?
years can mean a lot in the development
Yeah.
of a child.
Yeah.
So
What is the average age of children in foster care? So do you guys know the average age? I'm putting you on the spot here from your perspective. Oh, here we go. Answer is 8 years. Okay, 8 years. No, that's fine. So 8 years, that's the
8
average
years
age. Wow.
yeah.
What's the average age of children, do you know, that you guys help with CASA? Do you know? I'm putting you on the spot. That wasn't it.
It's okay. It is such a range,
Okay.
but we are seeing, typically what I will say is a lot of CASAs are a finite resource. We don't have a CASA volunteer for every child in care. And so often
Yeah.
the most complex cases are getting are getting appointed to a CASA volunteer for them to support. And so a lot of times it is older children who have languished in foster care much longer than 20 months that are receiving a CASA and advocacy.
Okay. Wow. And then our last question here is, what percentage of foster youth achieve permanency through adoption? So yeah, I wouldn't know it all that, but what do we have any guesses yet? Just put it out there, but
No, I just love the idea of a young youth, a person of youth, going through that and then finding their forever home. Like how amazing is that? And that's what we want for every child. Every child should have a permanent home. A place that's safe, a place they can grow and develop in such amazing ways. So let's see this number.
What is this number? 30%. Wow. Only 30%. That's low. Yeah. So if we talk about CASA's impact on all these questions here, do you know some stats about kids that go through CASA, have a CASA volunteer? Does that make an impact on some of these things we just talked about?
Yeah.
It does. Looking more nationally, we know that children with a CASA volunteer are less likely to re-enter foster care. And so that means less re-traumatization of, being removed and re-entering the system. And it means more stability for them in the long term, which is really huge. And we also know that children with a CASA volunteer are doing better in school and in their social networks and having those connections formed and being able to start thriving and developing some different independent living skills. And additionally, children with a CASA are, there's a mix, but there is definitely, CASA volunteers are appointed to ensure that every child is thriving and finds a forever home. And so we are really working toward, when possible, we like to see children being able to be reunified with their families. But if that is not possible, exploring different kinship options or other supportive adult options. And, you just never know other family connections for them because research shows that children who are able to connect with other family members also tend to, do better in the future. And, grateful for all the foster families that are able to then also care for these children and those that do lead to adoption too. And then again, touching base on, those older youth where maybe those are not realistic options, but how can they leave and be successul? And so that really goes back to having that supportive adult, that Stan, And so the amazing thing about CASA is they are community volunteers. You don't have to have a special skill set, a degree. You just have to care.
Yeah, no, that is amazing. So yeah, in terms of the involvement of a advocate and how does that work? Like how do people get involved, become a volunteer, and how does the whole CASA program work? And you can talk a little bit about in Pennsylvania and then broader across the country as well.
Yeah, so in Pennsylvania, prospective volunteers can visit our website, pacasa.org, and we have a page where you can inquire and learn more about becoming a volunteer. Nationally, you can Google CASA or go to nationalcasagal.org and find a program in your area. CASA is in 48 states, and so pretty much no matter where you live, there is a CASA program. And you can get involved. Becoming a CASA, you have to, of course, reach out and apply and go through an interview process. There are 30 hours of training that are required to become a CASA volunteer. But it's a really great opportunity.
Yeah, and it culminates with a swearing-in ceremony. So once you complete the initial training, the judge will swear you in, and then get you court appointed to a case. And so that's where
Okay.
a court order comes in handy. And as a CASA volunteer, you're privy to a lot of sensitive information, but with that information, you're able to start to understand the whole picture of, what brought the child into care in the first place, who's involved with the child, and start to meet those individuals and connect, and most importantly, connect with that child throughout that time. And they produce court reports that also go to the judge, and the judge uses that information as part of, again, what everyone else is providing them. It's another perspective. And the CASA volunteer makes recommendations for what's in the child's best interests based on their interviews with individuals, their relationship with the child's desires. And so it's a really unique volunteer opportunity.
We call often the eyes of the court.
What was that?
We often say it's the eyes and the ears. The volunteers, the eyes and the ears.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Yeah, that makes
that is
sense.
really amazing.
Yeah. So I kind of jumped right in with these questions. We'd love to get to know you two for just a quick minute. How did you both decide to get involved with CASA?
Yeah, sure. So I really think it's similar to your film. We all can make a difference. I went to school for IT, and I decided at some point that I care a whole lot more about people than machines. I changed my major to human services, and I started to work on websites and was able to kind of find how I could help a nonprofit, and that nonprofit was CASA. And so I started working with PA CASA to recruit volunteers. Ashley's story is very different, but we're all here making a difference.
Yeah.
My background's in social work, and so one of my first jobs out of college was as a foster care caseworker. And I remember having a CASA volunteer appointed to a case I was on. And actually at the time I was like, what is CASA?
Yeah.
As I learned more about the mission, but also saw what the volunteer was doing and bringing the extreme value and connection for this child on the case, I just was like, wow, like that's amazing. Like as a caseworker, I feel fortunate also to kind of be able to see this relationship building and to have this extra information. Different people share different information at different times. So I just thought that is so cool. There was an opportunity then to establish a CASA program in a local county in Pennsylvania. And so I had applied, and we were able to, I was the director there for a little while to reestablish the CASA program there, which was an honor and kind of got me really connected to the mission, and then found myself at the state level, so it's been nice to have the different perspectives of the one-on-one directness with children and families, and then working with CASA volunteers at the local level, and now at the state level, working more closely with the local directors and helping to build out infrastructure and training and resources for our local network.
Wow. Yeah, well, we put a link on the screen here, QR code, to become a volunteer or to get more information about National CASA. I mean, you guys are certainly on the front lines of what this film is all about, and really helping kids and really working to make a difference. So, thinking about Brave the Dark, from your perspective, how does CASA's mission align with the themes of this film? Like, why did you guys decide to get involved with us in this film?
I really think it's the power of one. It really resonates with CASA. One person can make such a difference in a child's life. Yeah.
And just seeing the continued consistency demonstrated too from Stan, I'm going to stay involved, Nate. You can't push me away. I'm here, and I think as a CASA volunteer too, especially those who are appointed to older youth, sometimes there is a little bit of that. There's distrust, and there's trauma that individuals are going through. And so to really just to continue to show up, continue to do what you're going to say you're going to do is so powerful. And that over time starts to rebuild that trust for that child, for that youth. And that was something that was just so powerful, I thought, throughout the film.
Yeah, that was what Stan did for me. I mean, he never judged me. he never, yelled at me. I mean, it was always done in positivity. He always encouraged, and always tried to bring out the best in me, even when I was struggling. And I think, to be a CASA volunteer, I think if you can bring those things, those kids are going to begin to build a trust, just the way Stan and I did. And there was a trust that we built with each other, which is incredible. So.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
incredible. From your perspective too, how do you feel that storytelling like this film can help people and move the needle for child advocacy?
Yeah, I think, the film is so powerful in how it portrays, the story. And it's that simple, it kind of goes back to, and there is a relevance to Pennsylvania, but it goes back to that Hershey bar, right? That initial kind of act of kindness. And you just never know what those little actions, those little seeds you start to sow into others' lives, the bigger impact that they'll have. And I think CASA volunteers, and also if you're not a CASA, just individuals can have that ability, and just by, again, those little acts of kindness and seeing where, like, how that might lead to a bigger impact, for that child.
Yeah, not everybody
People-
has to do all of the things that Stan did for me. Sometimes it's just one little thing that can lead to another thing that can lead to more. But if we don't do anything, then nothing's happening. Yeah.
People remember how you make them feel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I'd love it for people after this film to get involved with CASA and even get some trauma training too. I know Nate's gone through like some training recently, and what you guys probably train adults. I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm an expert. Nate's even an expert.
Right.
We're not the experts. You guys, that's what you do, and get training on how to help these kids, because dealing with the challenges and the love that you sometimes have to show, and they don't know how to reciprocate, and they don't know how to, kids that go through that type of trauma. It's a challenging. It's challenging from an advocacy perspective, right? I mean, it's not simple. What are some of the things that you guys do? You talked about 30 hours of training, but what are some of those things that you do to help when you're preparing advocates and preparing them to work with kids that have gone through trauma?
Yeah. First of all, I would share that I don't think that we are all prepared. You have to always continue to learn, right? And so we have ongoing professional development. We're always continuing to learn and grow.
We developed specific trauma-informed advocacy well-being courses that, it's woven throughout that initial training, but we wanted to build it out further so that volunteers are really starting to understand, moving away from that question of what's wrong with you to what happened, and really start to understand that. And it's really, looking at ways too to also bring that trauma-informed perspective into the courtroom, so judges are going through some of that training as well. And so just preparing, helping, CASA volunteers are walking with those children through these different, whether it's attending court or a bigger special event, and helping them be prepared, but also feel empowered and supported, and that they have someone there in their corner. And I think that has, through several of our trainings, but just that, again, continuous learning and that openness and shift to, what happened versus what's wrong has really helped make a difference in just understanding more of the child's story, allowing them to share it in time, because it takes courage.
Yeah. Well, if you're just tuning in right now to the broadcast, we're joined here, Nate and I are joined here by Ashley and Trevor from Pennsylvania CASA, and we're talking about their involvement with Brave the Dark and how we're making a difference with this film. There's a link here to get showtimes in your area. We're showing Brave the Dark across the country. So go to the website here or click on this link. It's angel.com/bravelive to buy tickets and to look for a showtime near you. We're encouraging people to bring your teachers, bring an advocate, bring somebody with you that has been an impact, making an impact in their community. Maybe buy them a ticket, say, listen, we love what you're doing. Come with me to watch this film. You're making a difference like Stan did, because every time that they talk to me, Nate, when somebody watches this film who's either a teacher or works with kids in some ways, what is the impact that they feel when they see this?
Yeah, I mean, we were honored to be able to share this film all across the country recently, and so we had a lot of teachers come up to us afterwards, especially to me, and they would just say, like, I've been struggling, like, do I even want to be a teacher? But they were so inspired by what Stan did for me, and now they want to be a better teacher. They want to look at that kid that might be sitting in the back row and say, I'm going to get to know that kid. I want to hear their story. I'm not just going to yell at them or send them to detention. Like, why is this kid acting out in class?
Yeah.
Why is this, and that's what it's about, and that's exciting.
Yeah, I like that framing that you guys said too. That's such a great takeaway that people can hear and learn from. Like, not what's wrong with you, but what happened. Like, that's such a simple
Yes.
rephrasing, but it's a different perspective and a different way to talk to kids. And I think one thing that I've always observed that you said, that Stan was never trying to, when you went to jail and he came in and helped you, he thought he was going to yell at you, and he's like, no, you don't belong here, Nate.
Right.
Like, not yelling at you for what you did, understanding, as a human what you were going through.
Yeah, he didn't even ask me why I was there.
Yeah.
He was trying to figure it all out. He just came because he saw a need and said, "This kid needs help," because if not, he's not going to get very far.
Yeah.
And so he just cared, and that's sometimes all we need to do: show a child that you care and that you're there for the long haul, if need be. And that's what CASA does, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to partner with you guys.
I love that. Little audible here, just gonna a little kind of switching gears, ask another question to you. Are there any other things like that you could share with our viewers right now that could help in their, maybe they're not gonna, maybe they feel like they can't be an advocate someday, but they can help a kid that's going through something? Any questions like that they can ask or help, like that reframing that you guys just said, or anything else that you would give in terms of advice?
I think one, like, meet children and older youth where they're at. I allow them to share, and I think the most important thing is to listen. I think we're often so quick to talk or give advice, or and I think sometimes just pausing and listening is a really powerful way to make them feel heard and make them feel valued. And so I would encourage just the ability to listen, and you learn so much from doing that.
Yeah, that's good.
You learn a lot from silence. Yeah, absolutely. It
Yeah,
makes
no,
space.
that's good. That's good. So, Nate, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Stan Deen Foundation as well, because as you were writing this film and as you were working the last couple of years, you decided to start the Stan Deen Foundation in honor of what Stan did for you. But I know it's a new organization; you're just kind of getting off the ground. But talk to me a little bit about what this will be, what is it doing now, and what are the things that will be in the future.
Yeah, we're just launching this thing, and again, we're excited to help young people in need. And we're not the experts, but we can pass. I hear a lot of people as I share my story. Hey, my nephew, my uncle, my aunt, or anything. They would say, they're going through this. I want to be able to point them to CASA. I would like to point them to other foundations that can help us, and so that we don't have to do all of the work because we're not the experts. And so we can do those things. But then also, we can be mentors, right? And so we'll find some kids that need some mentorship, and maybe someone from CASA says, "Hey, let's see. We have a kid. He's 17. Let's get him on a film set, or behind the camera, or something."
Yeah.
To again, just encourage them to be involved in something bigger than themselves, or bigger than the situation that they're going through, and remind them that they don't have to go through this stuff alone, right? For so long I went through it alone. And I don't want that for any child. We want them to feel that there are places that will help them, and more importantly, individuals that will help them. Because, I look at the Stan Deen Foundation website and there's a picture of Stan, he's much older in this picture than than the story of Brave the Dark. But man, what a story that we have to tell. And, the goal would be that they watch this film and they're inspired, that every viewer is inspired to be a Stan Deen in their community, right? So that, they want to be a better person. This film touches so many people in so many ways. We've seen fathers and sons talking about, I haven't talked to my dad for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's for such a little reason, something that we should have done, and like I got to call him. So that's what we're hoping for this film. And then using the Stan Deen Foundation to just make it all happen. Those two combinations, and then partnering with CASA and other nonprofits.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be incredible what we can do.
Yeah, and Stan Deen was such a beacon of hope to so many kids in the Lancaster community, and obviously what he did in your life. And hopefully this will inspire, like you said, other people. And when you watch the movie, please continue to reach out to this. Look at this website right here, standdeenfoundation.org. Also, we could put up the link again for CASA's link to get involved with CASA, become an advocate. Hopefully, Stan's life will inspire you as you see this film next weekend and the coming weeks to be involved, to get involved in the kids, and realize that, like, Nate sitting next to me right now is a living miracle, and it actually is an example of not giving up on kids, not giving up on youth, and not giving up on the next generation.
Right.
And if we can help more of these kids be functionally in our society as adults and everything, then it's just a positive flywheel to help the next generation of kids. And that's, 13 years ago when you decided to start writing this script and start making this film.
Right.
This is what you imagined that would happen, right? Like, this is kind of the impact that you're hoping, right? The beginnings of it.
Yeah, my friend John Spencer and I, when we first started writing it, we said that we believed that this story, that this film would be a catalyst to so much more, right? But we got to get people in the theaters. We got to get them to see it. We got to get them inspired so that they're reaching out to CASA. They're reaching out to the Stan Deen Foundation.
Yeah.
They're reaching out in any way they can, even if it's financially. Some people just can't get out there and go to court and do those things, or they can't, be on a film set with us or whatever.
Yeah.
But they can help financially. They can help in so many ways. They can volunteer in so many other ways.
Yeah.
And you might even have a story that you can share with a young person. Hopefully that through this you can see that there is a way through and a way to move forward and tell your story and the things that you went through and how you got through it. Because that's what we needed. That's what I needed. And so that's why I'm kind of reminded that, I want to give back to the kids. I want to give to the kids that what I didn't have.
Yeah.
And I think that's really exciting.
Well, we're going to wrap up here with some Q&A time, but if you're just joining in, again, Nate and I are talking here about Brave the Dark, and with CASA Pennsylvania, talking with Trevor and Ashley and the impact that they're having with CASA advocates and just helping kids in the next generation. You can get tickets at angel.com/Brave Live for Brave the Dark. Opening weekend is next weekend. And we're really, oh my gosh.
It's
man.
exciting.
Yeah, I know.
No, so excited.
I know. It's only been years and years
Billboards
and years.
are everywhere.
I
Hopefully
know.
you've seen them nearby.
I know. It's exciting. So, yeah, it's cool to see the ramp up. Like we said in the beginning a little bit, Nate and I have been traveling, talking to theaters, talking to press, kind of getting the word out about Brave the Dark. It's been cool, Trevor and Ashley as well. Like we've been talking to people in different spaces. Like we met with AMC yesterday, talking to them, showing them the film, and we were talking about CASA. And I'd say 20-30% of the people in the room were like, oh yeah, we know about them. We know about people know who you guys are, and that was in Kansas City. And as we go through this whole thing, talking about CASA and the impact, and it's great to see that people all over the country know your organization. Yeah. They understand what you're bringing. They understand that impact of what a CASA advocate and volunteer can be to those kids. So good job to your national organization and to all those places, because the word's getting out, and we hope that this film will get the word out more.
Yeah.
So I have a couple questions as we wrap up here. We're going to start here with Nate. As we're talking about mentorship and advocacy, what's one moment from the film that perfectly captures the spirit of mentorship, would you say?
From Stan?
Yeah, Stan
I
Deen,
mean,
yeah.
he got me involved in the arts. He took me into his home, but then got me back in school, which was hard. But then he's like, you know what? Let's get you involved in theater. Let's get you involved in something. And so not only was I in sports, now I was in theater, and it ended up in his mentorship through that affected me so much that I've been doing the arts for the last 35 years.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's such a power in the creative arts, and obviously that was Stan's whole mission, is to bring kids through that. So that's
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We actually have a question from the audience. Let's see here. It's coming. So what's the age limit for adopting or being a CASA for a teen? What would you guys say for that?
So CASA volunteers have to be at least age 18. So if
Okay.
you're interested in becoming a volunteer, you have to be at least age 18.
Okay.
Um,
Great question.
Does that answer?
And what? Yeah, that's great. Is the age limit for adopting, or what would? Because we were mentioning aging out. So, what is
Oh,
that?
yeah. So, uh, and it would be up to, so at age 18, you can leave, but there are laws in place that allow you to stay in foster care up to age 21. So there's different components that you would have to do, like be enrolled in school or have a job for so many hours, but you could be able to remain a dependent involved in the child welfare system to still receive some support and benefits up to age 21.
Okay. And is that state by state? Does every state have a little bit different, or is that the whole country?
That's the whole country.
Oh, great. Okay, great. Yeah. So, any more questions from the audience? Please send them in, and we'll ask Nate or Ashley and Trevor. So, this question here is for you guys, Trevor and Ashley. So, how does CASA ensure children's voices are heard, and what role does mentorship play in that?
Well, we're all about empowering youth voices, right? So we're not superheroes. We don't go into court and necessarily speak for children or youth. We're about empowering them and really advocating for their best interest and listening to them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And some of the ways, that can be done is, sometimes the child or youth might feel comfortable doing that, or sometimes it's building into the report their wishes or desires that the judge gets to then read and say out loud. And sometimes it's an acknowledgement of, in court, the CASA getting up and speaking and saying, this child has been enrolled in this or has done this, or we'd like to celebrate this. And so those sometimes are also ways to really empower them.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So another question actually for me here is, what's one message you want audiences to take away from Brave the Dark about creating impact? Man, that's a great question. I think, everybody that has been part of this film in some way has wanted this film to make an impact in people's lives and in the world. But we really hope when you walk away from Brave the Dark after you watch it that you believe that any child is capable of change, and that you can help them with your actions. Like, really, as an adult, we're kind of talking right now about adults and about advocacy and about mentorship. I think there's another message for the kids who are watching this, who are going through challenges, to not give up. But for adults, never, man, every kid is important. Every kid's important, and we're busy with our lives. And as an adult, there's stresses and all the things in our world, that seems to get more stressful every year in some ways. But man, the next generation is there, and they need our help, and everybody is capable. I mean, we can all be better mentors. We can all give something of ourselves to the next generation, and we can learn from Stan. We can learn from Mr. Deen and really grow. So
I would like to say to Trevor and Ashley, you guys are heroes to me. You really are.
Yeah.
As Stan was a hero, he's the hero of my story. And I'm okay with that. It's okay for you to be a hero. You're helping young people. And
Yeah.
in any way that you're doing that, you are a hero. And don't ever forget that.
Yeah. No, that's really good, Nate. You guys are. You're on the front lines
You're
doing
on the
work.
front lines, and that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, we do have a question for you, Nate, from the audience.
Okay?
It's coming up. So, Nate, what makes you finally give in to Stan and trust him? Oh, what made you finally give in to Stan and trust him, do you think?
Yeah, as a young guy growing up, I really pushed every button. I really pushed him to make sure that he cared about me. And in the film, there's a scene where we argue, and he literally just said over and over and over, Nate, I care about you. I care that you don't get in trouble. I care that you don't go back to prison. I care that you graduate. I care. And that moment was when I knew that this guy really cared, because he could have given up several times. And literally from that moment forward, I began to trust not only Stan, but adults moving forward. So that was kind of that moment in the film that really speaks. So catch that moment when you watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you said this to me too, like you were testing him to see if he would just run, not help. Like you kept pushing, and then finally,
kids are smart that way. Believe it or not, they want to know that you care, and sometimes they're going to push your buttons on purpose. And he just always said, Nate, I'm going to love you no matter what. I'm going to love you no matter what. I'm going to love you no matter what. And actually, one of the really cool things, and you may notice it in the film, but he would say my name a lot. Nate, how are you doing today, Nate? He wanted to know that I was Nate. I was a person. I was he just really wanted to instill that you are somebody. And you notice it a lot.
Yeah,
Merry Christmas, Nate. You're welcome, Nate. And it's almost like, because in normal conversation, you don't say it. Like, we know who each other is. Yeah. But he just always wanted to instill that, and I thought that was really cool, and that we added it into the movie.
That is cool. That is good. Great. Well, it was really great to talk to you guys tonight and talk about the mission of CASA, what you're doing, how we are connecting. Everybody, let's just share those links one more time. To get involved with CASA and to be an advocate, or just to learn more, to support it financially, to be involved, click this link below. It's nationalcasagal.org. And also, if you're in Pennsylvania, you can get involved with the Pennsylvania CASA. There's also local CASA organizations near you. I mean, like you said, over 1,000, right? Different local. So please get involved with your local organization. There is just on the front lines doing all the work. It's amazing. Thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then the Stan Deen Foundation, we'll put that link up there again. You can get more information about standeenfoundation.org.
Yep.
Scan the QR code, click the link. Get involved, get a little bit more backstory about who Stan was. I mean, the movie Brave the Dark is about 1.5 years of Stan, his life, I guess, or so, more or less.
Right.
But there's so much more to Stan too than just this section of the film. And
correct.
And Nate is doing a lot of work in that, and has an exhibit in New Holland, the Mr. Deen exhibit, at the New Holland Historical Society. So if you're local, check that out as well. Find more information about if you're local to Lancaster in Pennsylvania, you should check that out. It's an incredible exhibit. And then last but not least here, we're going to share the link again to the film, to buy tickets, support the film, tell your friends. Opening weekend next weekend. It's going to be an incredible weekend to see the impact that this film has. We're kicking it off. And thank you, Trevor and Ashley, again for everything that you're doing. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Nate, for sharing your story. It's going to have a huge impact. It already has. So go see the film.
Yes, go see the film.
Thank you from
Awesome.
the Voices of CASA. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, again, really great to chat, Nate, with you and chat with the whole team from CASA. My goodness, it's been an incredible journey the last 4 years, but just in this last, we're talking about this live stream right now. It's been good to really understand and unfold the mission behind this film, why you decided to do this. Obviously, making a movie is really hard. It's so many things. And you always say this is bigger than this one film, right? This is a mission.
Right.
this is a personal mission. Now it's a shared mission with
Yeah.
Angel Studios and CASA and other places. So let's again put up these links for people to get involved. There's CASA will be. You can click the link below to get involved with CASA. And then again, as a reminder, you can buy tickets today for next weekend and for opening weekend. Angel.com/BraveLive. To buy those tickets, if you're a guild member, you also get free tickets. So go on the app and you can get those tickets that way. And if you buy tickets, you're entered into a giveaway for free vacation for you and for a vacation for your favorite teacher.
That's so cool. Like that's
I know.
what a
Can
cool
you imagine,
idea,
imagine
right?
winning that for your teacher? I don't think we can enter.
And
that.
no, I don't think so. But we all have teachers that are the Mr. Deans in our lives, and we want to honor them.
Yes.
So please get your tickets, get involved.
Yes.
So exciting.
Yes. And again, if you want the Brave the Dark T-shirts,
I know they look really good.
we actually just got these. Are pretty cool. Go to angel.com/BraveT, and then you can rep this T-shirt when you're watching the film or get the movie poster.
Yeah.
You can buy all those things. But again, thank you all for joining us on this live stream. Really hope you enjoy Brave the Dark next weekend when it starts to show across the country.
Yes.
Continue to click that link, buy tickets, and we really are excited to see the impact that this film's going to make. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Mr. Deen,
Good morning, Jen. Hey, how's that little sister?
great, 2 weeks old now.
Oh my gosh.
I was wondering